place to end this call, sir, and I very much commend the bill to the House.
I understand the next call is a split call. Poto Williams, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Labour Party opposes this bill. We did support the bill to Select Committee because we wanted to have a closer look at the implications of it. So what does this bill do? Well, one of the things is it changes the governance structure of the Commission. It devolves the commissioners and thereby can determine a lot more of its own course and functions, so that it really could be seen as a quasi-government department rather than an independent, autonomous Crown entity that makes useful recommendations on what the issues are that families face and what, as a government, as a social service provider and as a community, we can do to better support our families. So by developing this governance structure, we lose the independent advisory nature of the current Commission setup. And that has made no sense to me at all. So you lose the advocacy ability of the Commission, the ability to advocate on the best way forward for New Zealand families, because some of the recommendations will likely be at odds with government policy. Isn't that a useful, grown-up and good thing to have, an independent Commission that can advise you when your policies are not meeting the needs of New Zealand families and potentially doing them harm? This bill also, by its very nature, does away with the valuable programs that have been developed in conjunction with the community, such as the White Ribbon campaign. I've heard from a member from the other side of the House during a previous reading of this bill say that the White Ribbon campaign has a life of its own and would survive without the injection of support and funding from the Commission. And yes, that's true. It has become an event or a series of events that is hugely successful and has gained a lot of traction. But why stop now, when more and more men are coming on board with pledges, becoming ambassadors, wearing the ribbon and having healthy and safe conversations about family violence? Why would you stop? Does it not make more sense to continue with the momentum that is building? I think so anyway. What else does this bill do? It establishes a social policy and evaluation unit within the Commission to provide independent monitoring and evaluation of programs being delivered in the community, and also to provide research into key issues, programs and interventions. That's great, I hear lots of people say, but, and I just want to quote from something that the Honourable Anne Tolley said a little earlier in the House. The intention of the unit is to improve decision-making across the sector and to thereby help families improve their lives. And the evaluation would go across the wider social sector. So is it the intention to provide genuine, unbiased, evaluative advice and feedback to the community groups working with those families? Or, as I suspect it might be, to act as an audit function into the sector? And what if your group or your provision doesn't make the grade? What then? Do you potentially lose your ability to serve your community? Does the ministry then decide to pull your funding? Or have I got that completely wrong, and will the research concentrate on developing best practice models for the sector? That would be great too. The best practice models and ideas for developing the workforce better come fairly cheap, because I can assure you that the government is unlikely to fund best practice, even if their own research unit recommends it. And it's unlikely to spend money on developing the workforce either. And why do I say this? Because of the funding cuts that have already been made to the Family Commission and to programs. Thank you, Mr Speaker. So why will we not support this bill? We don't support this bill because we feel the changes being promoted will diminish the useful work that the Commission has had a long history in providing. We would do away with the Commission altogether and focus on funding the Children's Commission. We would do that because we know that there is one glaring omission on this government's watch, and it has been the development of measurements and targets to reduce child poverty. Backed by legislation, we would require regular reporting on the progress at every budget, because it's important and useful and should be done as an absolute priority. But we all know that this government is not good at numbers, missing 20,000 kids off the poverty list. Healthy kids grow up to be healthy adults. Hungry children living in damp homes with poor nutrition grow up to be unhealthy adults, and I'm afraid that the health and social impacts are cumulative and progressively detrimental. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call Jan Logie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.